So this picture is one of my favorites.
Oh, so this is the one of him on the staircase. I have seen this. So where is this?
This is at Air Studios, which obviously was, where the Beatles recorded. It's a very famous studio. I think the Beatles put it on the map in a way, but it was like back in the 60s, the technically advanced best studio or something. And Paul recorded there quite a lot. And this image was actually just before the breakup. I think I'm not good with the dates and stuff, but if you research it, I think about within 3 or 4 months, they'd announced they were going to split up. And what was interesting is, I covered that over a couple of days. So I would go in, because with bands, it's not always the right moment to take the picture. So what I used to do is, and if you knew the band, I'd say, look, why don't I just come down for a couple of days and we'll just work out the right moment. Like if they're harassed or they're behind schedule, you get a shit shot. So I'd rather just spend the time and get it right. And I remember when I used to walk in, Paul was always in there playing the piano, not in the studio, but I can't remember, maybe in the hallway or the foyer or something. It was always sort of early, and he was, knocking out Beatles songs and all this stuff. And it was almost like the pre-run to, Style Council and all that. It was that very different music. He was, playing Beatles songs and all that. So this shot, on the day I was looking for somewhere to photograph, like you usually do. I'd get there early and scout out a place. And I saw this place. At first, I didn't really realize it until I went down and saw the sun came out, which is rare in England like that. And then I saw the whole reflection. I thought, wow, this is going to be a great photo. Of course, Paul was late. Paul was never on time like a lot of musicians. I don't think I'm talking badly about him, but he really was. And this was a moment where I thought, shit, if the clouds come by, I'm going to lose this shot and it's meaningless. I mean, I could still do the same shot, but it just wouldn't have the power. And I'm waiting and Paul didn't turn up. And then he turns up. And just as he turns up, fucking sun goes down, all the clouds come over. And I just said to him, look, can we just wait until the sun comes up? So why don't you go back and carry on recording? I'll wait here. The moment it comes up, I'm going to run up and get you, which I did, and got this shot, which I'm glad that I did. As I said, it's, obviously I've got my own personal favorites, but out of all my portraits, I don't know why, this one just really resonates with me. Now, I love this shot. So to me, John Weller, anyone that was around the Jam, that was close to them, backstage and all that, from the beginning to the end, he was always there. And he was, obviously not the typical music business manager, but he was a great guy, very normal, very approachable. I mean, I just remember things like I'd be, in the office talking, he'd stand up, he'd pull his trousers down to tuck his shirts in, he'd be standing there with his underpants. And you know what I mean? Do you remember people used to do that? You know what I'm saying? When they would tuck their shirt in, like your father did. And it was kind of like this father figure that was always there. And, thinking back on it, and then his mother and all that. But this shot was the last shot. Everyone's gone. Paul's probably out partying or whatever. And I just thought, this is him, the father, realizing that it's the end of an incredible era in a way. And to me, this shot is really powerful. A lot of people don't know who he is or whatever, or even resonate. But I think anybody that around the Jam would sort of, find that kind of interesting. I got a phone call. I don't know if it was from Paul, but it was definitely from either the father or somebody, definitely not the record company, that just said, look, you've done so many pictures. Why don't you come down and cover the band? Now, I've photographed them so many times live. Like, I've got hundreds of images of them live. And basically, I thought long and hard, and I thought, okay, I'm only going to get one chance to get an iconic shot in a way. And I've got so many from the front, meaning, do you know what I'm saying? Just another shot of them from the front is not going to do it. And it was quite mad. It was at the Brighton Convention Centre. I don't think it was the actual last gig. I think they did one in Woking, Woking. But I think this was the last major commercial gig, or whatever you want to call it. And it was sort of, let me think, it was basically, I got behind the drum kit and I waited there literally the whole time. I didn't really photograph them from the front because I had so many shots and they all looked the same, to be honest with you. Not the same, but,
Yeah.
And so I waited until they'd finished and got the last ever shot, which hopefully I've got here. Okay.
Oh my God, these are brilliant. And people have not seen these. These are
So this is them saying goodbye. And what's interesting here is, and there's more of these, I'll show you, is look at Paul, how he stands back, which is how he was. Paul was always the thinker. Paul was always, I wouldn't call him grumpy, but he was a thinker. He was, the lead singer of a top band. He had a lot of responsibility. You know what I mean? It can't be easy to keep churning out the kind of songs that he was, but he was definitely, this is a very good picture of the Jam in a way, because Paul steps back and sort of looks out at the crowd. The other two are kind of waving. Hold on.
Yeah, he's right back, isn't he? Yeah.
And this is the sort of sound check. I'll just show you through this quickly. Start off at the beginning. So this is the sound check. That arriving, people outside. Again, this is what I mean by ambient shots. That at the time I would look at this and go, how did I do that? Probably as I picked up the camera, I just pressed the shutter by mistake or something. It's not a shot that I would use, but it's actually becomes a lot more interesting, 30, 40 years or however long it is now.
Yeah, exactly. We're capturing the times, right? As much as anything else as well. So.
And then there's some more, hold on a sec. There's some pictures of them after the gig. So I got them coming down from the sound check. Oh, there you go. So that's their last ever journey from the stage.
Wow.
So as I said,
the sweat on Bruce Foxton.
I know. So as I said, what I really wanted to capture was this stuff, and it was very fast, and there was a lot of people. So it wasn't like post stuff so much as me just, and you have to do that sometimes. Around bands, a lot of people, you can get trapped in the wrong place. Like if I was out front, I would find it difficult, even with my passes, to get back at the right moment. Do you understand? To do the picture from behind the stage. I thought, fuck it, I'm just going to stay right behind and just cover everything other than the front. I did the sound check. Paul doesn't look too happy now. He looks happy there.
That's a nice shot.
Yeah. So it's kind of interesting.
That's great.
Yeah. Okay, so this is the Marquee gig.
Ah.
And, again, right, these guys here, anyone that was around there, I think this is Kenny,
That's Kenny Wheeler,
guys,
isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, but all these guys, it's like for me and for other people that were there, not the new fans, but this is a sort of caricature, isn't it, of exactly how I remember the moment, right? These people and faces, it's not just the band, but look at Paul, this is the Marquee. And I'm like, I don't know, stuck in the throng a bit here.
Yeah, that's brilliant. But that reminds me of John Wilson came on the podcast and talks about the hairy nature of the crew. that picture captures that perfectly.
Yeah, and they were all great guys as well. I mean, what I mean by that, without mentioning names, some of the bands had real thugs as security and roadies, and it was just not good. I think the Jam were very, and I think it had something to do with because there was a father figure there. I think people don't realize that, but I think having John around kept this band in a way quite special at that time. Like I don't remember, look, there was crazy times and Paul would get into it and have drinks. And I always remember that he would always go missing after the gig, not always, but I remember this frantic, everyone running, where's Paul? Where's Paul? And someone would say, oh, I saw him go out the back door. Oh, fuck, we better go find him. He's going to get into trouble, drink too much or get in a fight or skinheads are going to corner him. And there was this like mass panic, like, where's Paul kind of thing. But again, I think that was the difference also between the Jam and a lot of other bands. I don't remember the Clash having any father figures around or the Pistols. If anybody, I suppose it was McLaren,
God, yeah.
Let's have a look here. Okay, so this is, no one's really seen this picture. This is in my studio. And again, just rang up. I need some more shots or something, Were you available? Sure. No record company involved, no PR person, nobody checked what was going on. And it was just me, Paul, and his minder. That was it, probably Kenny. This is one of my favorite live shots of the Jam. I'll tell you a funny story. So, not a funny story. It's just, typical that happens with bands. So I did this sort of 4-shot sequence of this. I'm not sure if... Anyway, there was 4 great shots, and I printed them up as a sequence, and I mounted them on a board. And I remember back then it was all hand done. So I remember I had this special glue that you had to iron on the back or something. It was rubbish, but it was what I was using. And I did this thing, and I took it to Paul like a kind of schoolboy does. Hey, look, how do you like this? And he goes, "Oh, I love it," and just took it. Which was all right. I wasn't. It wasn't that I didn't want him to have it, but it was like, oh, okay.
That's gone then.
Yeah, that's gone. This is kind of cool. And, some of the people will remember he always had, motifs on the sort of guitars and stuff.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Well, they stickers or badges. Yeah.
It's just an old carpet on the back. I mean, no one's seen any of these, trust me.